The highlights are back, the commentary is back, and the time has finally come for the start to our Madden 20 franchise, which begins in preseason at a wet and rainy Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Dolphins opening drive, and Ryan Fitzmagic with the play fake and says, Alakazam, Alakazoo, watch me throw this pass right to Keanu as the Falcons defense comes up with the turnover on its first drive of the preseason. So Falcons turn now, and Matt Ryan says, anything you can do, I can do better, as he play fakes before floating an underthrown pass late to the sideline, and his first pass attempt of the season is intercepted by Xavier Howard, and possession goes right back to the Dolphins. Ensuing drive, and the Dolphins able to convert as Fitzpatrick goes high to Kenny Stills, who makes the contested catch for 20 yards on 3rd and 11, and that would lead to 4 plays later, 1st and goal at the 1, where Kalen Ballage takes the toss, picks up a block, avoids a hit stick, and walks into the end zone, putting Miami on the board and giving them a 7-0 lead. Falcons turn again, and Matt Ryan trying to find a rhythm, and does, as he hits Julio Jones, who catches the slant and picks up 21 yards well into Miami territory. Then 2 plays later, how about 21 more, as Ryan throws quick to Luke Stalker, who runs right through Xavier Howard and weaves his way down to the Miami 14, and following another first down, Atlanta at the Miami 1, where the give goes to Devontae Freeman, who gets bottled up but snakes his way into the end zone for the 1-yard score to tie this one up at 7. Dolphins come right back, though, with a drive that takes them inside the Atlanta 10, where Josh Rosen pumps before finding tight end Mike Gesicki in the back of the end zone, and the 8-yard touchdown catch once again gives the Dolphins the lead. Then right before half, Dolphins driving again with 2nd and 6 at the Falcon 20, and Josh Rosen lays one right on the money for Jakeem Grant, who gets tackled right through the end zone wall. He would be fine as he spikes the ball in the end zone and sends Miami into the break with a 21-7 halftime lead. 4th quarter now, score is 21-10, and when it rains, it apparently pours. Josh Rosen touchdown passes as he finds Bryce Butler for a 6-yard score and his 3rd touchdown pass of the game. The Falcons would later add a Kurt Benkert to Calvin Ridley 9-yard touchdown pass of their own, but it was too little too late as the Dolphins take the preseason opener by a score of 31-17. So from the Hurricanes of Miami to the home of the Screeching Rats with Wings, it's the Falcons' preseason home opener as they host Sam Darnold and the New York Jets, led by new head coach Adam Gase. Falcons opening drive, and they cross midfield as Matt Ryan fires quick to Julio Jones, picking up 17 yards and a first down into Jets territory. But 4 plays later, Falcons going for it on 4th and inches. Ryan takes the snap. Deuce Douglas presses the button too soon, so Ryan doesn't throw, gets hit and fumbles. Jets recover, and the Falcons make it 2 for 2 on opening drives, resulting in turnovers, and the Jets would capitalize on that turnover as Sam Darnold finds Robbie Anderson on the deep crosser, picking up 25 yards inside the Falcons 20, and that eventually leads to 1st and goal from the 7, where Darnold throwing again and finds Jamison Crowder late across the middle and in the end zone to put the Jets up 7-0. Late 1st quarter now, Falcons trying to get something going, and who else do you call on but Julio Jones, who skies up to snatch the 39-yard pass on 3rd and 17, which takes Atlanta down to the Jets 27 and would lead to a field goal that makes it 7-3. 2nd quarter now, Jets at midfield, and Le'Veon Bell showing why they spent nearly $53 million on him as he carries for 14 yards into enemy territory. Then later in the drive, chalk up 15 more for the man with the flaming X as he sets the Jets up with 1st and goal inside the 10, and 2 plays later, that would lead to Darnold throwing, looking for the end zone, but finding nothing but Deion Jones lurking in the end zone for the interception to keep the Jets out of the end zone and off the board. Just before half now, Jets lead 7-6, and driving again, we're on 3rd and 3 from the Falcon 30. Darnold goes deep for Robbie Anderson, who somehow hangs on through the Ricardo Allen wallop for the 30-yard score, and the Darnold dime puts the Jets up 14-6 with 46 seconds left in the half, but that's more than enough time for Matt Ryan to go to work, and on their first play, he finds Julio Jones for 18 to take the Falcons right to midfield. Falcons call timeout. 2 plays later, it's Ryan right back to Jones, this time on the drag, picking up 14 more as Julio gets out of bounds, stopping the clock. Then with 16 seconds left in the half, 3rd and 1, where Ryan stands in and delivers to Mohamed Sanu, who turns upfield, weaving and picking up blocks on his way to the end zone, and the 26-yard touchdown just before half sends the Falcons into the break, trailing trailing by 1. Third quarter, still 14-13 with the Jets just across midfield. Trevor Siemian throwing and goes late to Eric Tomlinson, but Kamal Ishmael undercuts the route, picking off the pass, and he's going to bring this one back 55 yards for the pick six and put the Falcons out in front, giving them a 20-14 lead. Then nearing the end of the third quarter, Matt Schaub goes short to Devin Gray, who shakes off Rontez Miles, and he's going to run away from Blasson Austin and the entire Jets defense on his way to the 64-yard catch and run, and the touchdown extends the Falcons' lead to 27-13. Minutes later, Jets inside the Falcon 20, and Trevor Siemian fires off the mark and once again right into the hands of Kamal Ishmael for his second pick of the night, and that would later lead to first and goal at the 1, where Brian Hill of the Falcons takes the toss into the end zone for the score as the Falcons run away in the second half of this one and go on to win 34-14. Fast forward a week and we're right back in Atlanta for week 3 of the preseason as the Falcons host the Washington Redskins. Opening drive for the Redskins, 3rd and 13, where Case Keenum looks to throw before loading up and going deep. Deion Jones is there, a button is pressed, but nothing happens, and the result is a Terrence Williams 69-yard catch to set up first and goal, where 2 plays later it's Keenum right back to Williams for the 1-yard score and an early 7-0 Redskins lead. Then after exchanging possessions, Atlanta with 2nd and 10, where Ryan floats down the middle to Julio Jones, who leaves quarterback Josh Norman with nothing but a face full of turf and a rear view look at the 88-yard touchdown that pulls the Falcons even at 7. Second quarter now, Redskins lead 10-7, but Falcons driving, and it's more of that Ryan to Jones connection as they hook up for the 14-yard catch to set up first and goal, where 2 plays later they hook up one more time, this time for 4 yards and 6 points as Atlanta takes its first lead of the game at 14-10. Falcons back with the ball just before half and looking for points, and the Ryan to Jones connection in regular season form as he once again finds the all-pro receiver for 14 yards as he slides out of bounds. Next play, Ryan throwing again, and this time finds tight end Austin Hooper over the middle for 16 more into Washington territory, and with 27 seconds left in the half, Ryan moving to his left could probably run, but instead finds Austin Hooper again in the corner of the end zone for the score, and the 16-yard touchdown would send Atlanta into the break up by 11 with a 21-10 lead. Then just minutes into the second half, Redskins pin deep, Keenum looking to throw, and he makes the worst decision possible, throwing it right to Deion Jones for the easiest pick six you'll ever see, and the Falcons take an 18-point lead on their way to coasting to a 31-20 win over the Redskins. And that brings us to the preseason finale, where all the Falcons starters got the night off as they headed to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars in the last chance for many players to prove their worth. First quarter ticking down, Jags up 3-0 and looking to add more as Nick Foles play fakes and finds Keelan Cole over the middle. He avoids a hit stick and takes the catch for 33 yards down inside the 5 to set up first and goal, where 2 plays later the give goes to Leonard Fournette, who carries Rashid Hageman into the end zone for the 4-yard touchdown run and makes it 10-0 Jaguars. Minutes later, and the Jags find themselves right back in the end zone as Fournette takes it up the middle again, breaks a tackle, and scampers 36 yards for the score. Just before half now, 17-6 Jacksonville, who has 2nd and goal, where Gardner Minshew looks to throw to the corner of the end zone, but his pass ends up in the hands of Kamal Ishmael for his 3rd pick of the preseason. He tries to bring it back but gets knocked out of bounds. Then on the following play, roses are red, violets are blue. Deuce Douglas likes throwing ugly picks right to the CPU. Ramik Wilson with the interception, and just like that, the Jags are back in business, where they would capitalize with a Raquel Armstead 1-yard touchdown run and take a 24-6 lead into the break. Then early third quarter, and it's more Falcon backup beatdown as Minshew fires to the sideline, finding Chris Conley for the tough catch and gain of 24 yards on 3rd and 4. Then 2 plays later, it's Minshew back to Conley, and Bleedy Ray Wilson, you got mossed as Conley makes the one-handed catch for the 15-yard score, and the route is on here in Jacksonville, but we choose to end these highlights on a high note, and that high note would be Brian Hill wiggling his way through players before emerging into the clear and taking the carry 66 yards for the score. However, it would not matter as the Falcons drop this preseason finale by a score of 37-16. All right, guys, so we go 2-2 in the preseason, and something I've said before that I will say again here is that I don't really put too much stock in how preseason plays. I try to play it out realistically where I'll barely play my starters in the first game and then not at all in the last game, and the CPU doesn't really do that. So, for example, in the Jaguars game, I was trotting out guys that are going to end up on my practice squad or end up getting cut on offense and defense, and was basically going up against their entire starting offense and defense, and when that happens, it's definitely going to lead to some weird things. So that's why I say I don't really worry too much at all about the results of preseason. Another thing here is full disclosure. Those games were played on a different franchise file because I started the franchise this past weekend unaware that there was going to be a big update this week with the offensive line abilities. And that pretty much forced me to restart because I didn't have the abilities on the players within my franchise. And I wanted to make sure to get those in. Not really much change though. I made sure to end up with the same 53-man roster that I did the first time around, but due to some of the position changes with the roster update, some things might look a little weird, but not a whole lot actually changed, and I'm okay with where things are at moving forward. But like I said, we go 2-2, and as you can see in the upper right corner, we are now playing as an owner. That choice got more votes in the poll I did last video, and it's what I was leaning towards doing because of the current state of the scenario engine. It just isn't balanced at all, and it's just too repetitive to deal with or include in videos. But with the preseason over, cuts have been made, our practice squad is set, so it's time to take a look at our 2019 Atlanta Falcons 53-man roster. At quarterback, starting will of course be Matt Ryan, and we're going to have to protect him at all costs because all that's behind him is 16th-year quarterback Matt Schaub, and if the preseason was any indication, having him in the game for meaningful snaps is going to result in a very bad time. Our backfield contains 4 running backs along with a fullback and starts at the top with Devontae Freeman, who will carry the majority of the running back load. Behind him is Ito Smith, who will definitely get mixed in for some carries as well. Then we have Brian Hill and rookie Kadri Ollison, who will likely only see carries as a result of injury. Then rounding out the group is the 63 overall fullback out of Oregon State, Ricky Ortiz. At wide receiver, we have a pretty strong group with superstar X-Factor Julio Jones at a 98 overall, and he pairs with Mohamed Sanu and Calvin Ridley for a nice wideout trio. Behind them is veteran Justin Hardy, second-year undrafted free agent Devin Gray, and 2018 Falcons 6th rounder Russell Gage Jr. Moving on to the tight end position, another nice weapon leads the way in Austin Hooper. Behind him, a pair of seasoned veterans in Luke Stalker and Logan Paulson. So definitely a position we're going to have to look to get younger at moving forward. On to the big boys up front. We start with the bookends where 2014 first rounder Jake Matthews mans the left side and 2019 first round rookie Caleb McGarry mans the right. Behind them, serving as the swing tackle in case of emergency, is former Bronco Ty Sambrailo. Moving inside starts with a very reliable center in Alex Mack, who now has a superstar ability, but beyond him, the interior line is very lean. Another first-round rookie in Chris Lindstrom will start at right guard and is the only player with a hidden dev on our roster, and he, along with Caleb McGarry, will both be focus players for weekly training as we try to do everything we can to bolster the line. On the left side, we have ninth-year veteran James Carpenter, who will begin the year as the starter, but poor performance could easily lead to him being replaced by Jamon Brown. And then wrapping up the group is Wes Schweitzer, who was a left guard in the previous franchise, but is now a backup center along with undrafted rookie free agent Chandler Miller. So that's why things are a little bit weird there. Shifting to the defensive side of the ball, we start with the defensive ends where we're good but not great. Tack McKinley leads the group at a 78 overall and will pair with fellow first rounder Vic Beasley on the outside. Adrian Claiborne provides a very solid backup and will likely see time as a rush defensive tackle in pass formations. Former Chief Alan Bailey and rookie fourth rounder John Kaminsky round out the defensive end group. Shifting inside, team captain Grady Jarrett leads the way with star potential and an 87 overall rating. Behind him is former Saints draft pick Tyler Davison, 2018 Falcons third rounder Deidrin Sennett, and Jack Crawford, a former fifth round pick by the Raiders heading into his 8th season. The outside linebackers are one of the weaker parts of our defense, with Devondre Campbell being a solid starter with an interesting player in Foyesade Oluokun behind him as he's packing 90 speed at the linebacker position. Then starting opposite Campbell on the left side is Duke Riley, who only comes in at a 68 overall. At inside linebacker is a stud in Deion Jones, who is our highest rated defensive overall and will be flying all over the field. However, if he goes down, the defense will take a major hit, as his backup is 69 overall veteran and former Cowboy Bruce Carter. Then another result of the roster update now has Jermaine Grace at middle linebacker when he had previously made the roster as a right outside linebacker. Moving to the secondary and starting with the corners, which are led by Desmond Trufant, who is the only established player of the group. Isaiah Oliver enters his second season and with star development could develop into a decent player, and he will be our third focus player in an effort to try and make that come to fruition. Rookies Kendall Sheffield and Jordan Miller sit behind him, along with Jalen Myrick and veteran Bleedy Ray Wilson, to round out a very unimpressive cornerback group. The secondary balances things out a bit, however, with a strong group of safeties, starting with superstar Dev Keanu Neal. Pairing with him at free safety is Ricardo Allen and DeMonte Casey, who are 81 and 79 overalls respectively. And then rounding out the group is a veteran who you guys saw had a very strong preseason in Kamal Ishmael. Then wrapping up the 53-man roster is the specialists, where we have a punter with star Dev in Matt Bosher. Giorgio Tavecchio is a less than ideal option at kicker, but with how Madden handles kicking, there should be very little issues there. Then we have long snapper Josh Harris, which I keep on the roster just to make team building the slightest bit more difficult. Moving to the injured reserve, we have 3 players that will be out for the entire season, all as a result of pre-existing injuries. JJ Wilcox, a 68 overall strong safety, will miss the next 40 weeks with an ACL tear. Steven Means, another 68 overall at defensive end, will be out another 48 weeks with an Achilles tear. And then Kurt Benkert, who originally made our practice squad, now finds himself on IR with a compound foot fracture and is slated to miss another 13 weeks. And then lastly, we have our 10-man practice squad, which features a lot of mediocrity and nothing but normal dev traits. Defensive tackle Justin Zimmer is our highest overall at a 66. Marcus Green broke his collarbone in our initial preseason, but ends up on the practice squad this time around. Following him is a pair of undrafted free agents in defensive end Chris Odom and cornerback Ryan Neal. Former rugby player and England native Alex Gray could play into the tight end mix in the future, as we mentioned needing to get younger at the position. Free safety Chris Cooper wraps up the first group as we start finding ourselves in the red overalls. And as we move to the final 4, it starts with Sean Harlow, a left guard from Oregon State, Jacob Tuioti Mariner, a 56 overall defensive tackle from UCLA, Matt Gano out of Wesley College at right tackle and a 52 overall, and then taking Kurt Benkert's spot on the practice squad is freshly claimed quarterback / receiver Danny Etling, who is now essentially our third quarterback. But that covers the roster. Now it's time to take a look at the schedule we'll be facing this season, which kicks off on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. The home opener is in week 2 against the highest rated team in the game in the Philadelphia Eagles. From there, it's 3 straight games against the AFC South, followed by 3 straight games against the NFC West, which will then take us into a perfectly placed bye week in the middle of the season. The second half is then dominated by division games and kicks off with road trips to New Orleans and Carolina before coming home for all 3 of our division home games against the Bucs, Saints, and Panthers. Then it's back on the road and across the country to face the 49ers in Santa Clara before we wrap up the season with a home contest against the Jaguars and then a trip to Tampa Bay to finish out the year against the Bucs. But that's going to do it for the first video of our Falcons franchise. Little bit of a bump in the road there with the title update, but thankfully very little was affected. The next video will be covering our opening day game against the Vikings, as well as news from around the rest of the league in week 1. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and are looking forward to this franchise journey. And as always, thanks for watching.